AIDS. Well, good morning and thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited today to announce a new initiative that we are kicking out to help prevent and curb youth violence, and it is called our Youth Violence Prevention Program. Last week, a week ago Wednesday, we held a forum where we opened up questions to the public. We invited the public to come in so that we could answer those questions and to have a general conversation, as much as anyone can have a conversation with almost 200 people in the room. And the questions that we received from all of them were over 100 questions, and if we broke those questions down into categories, 1/3 of those questions were about funding and how they could receive funding. Another third of the questions were about how can we help, how can we get involved, and another third of the questions were about building trust. And so Wednesday we had a plan. We knew what our plan was that day, and I announced to some of you that we were going to share that plan, but not until I had an opportunity to talk to council. I wanted to make sure that our city council members were in the loop and were involved into what this plan would be, and were supportive of that. And they are. We've talked with every single council member, and they are supportive of the plan. We've invited them, but because of work schedules, travel schedules, some were not able to make it today. But we're thankful that Councilman Marty Bender is here with us today, standing in support of our public safety initiative. This is public safety. Youth violence is a public safety challenge that we need to make sure that we are addressing and that we're keeping at the forefront of our mind. And before I tell you what the plan is, I want to tell you Fort Wayne is not unique. We're not unique in the increase in youth violence that we're seeing. It's happening across the country. Communities, large and small, are seeing an increase of young people having activities that we wish that they would not have. But we are not unique either in that many communities have created plans. And we are designing our plan specifically for the city of Fort Wayne. And this plan will be implemented in 3 tiers. The first tier is I'm proud to announce that we will be providing micro grants. Micro grants to communities that are working with children that are at risk and already doing the work. You could be a non-for-profit or you could not be a non-for-profit that's doing this work and helping our young kids to be able to look at life differently, expose them to new exposures, and be able to help them reduce the amount of violence that they have become accustomed to or become involved in. And so those micro grants will be handled by our mayor's Young Adult Council. If you remember, a couple months ago, City Council voted in the affirmative to grant a mayor's Young Adult Council, one of the initiatives that I launched that I wanted to launch since becoming mayor. And the Young Adult Council will be the council that will be reviewing these applications, interviewing the members that apply for the resources, and will be determining or giving a recommendation on who we should grant the micro grants to. This will be the young adults' first opportunity or first soiree, if you would, into civic engagement, and it's a huge responsibility for a new committee that's being formed, or that had been formed or organized by myself and by City Council. I can tell you that the micro grants will be up to $10,000. You can apply for up to $10,000 for a grant. And many have reminded me that I said, this is not what tax dollars do. We don't have tax dollars that will contribute to this kind of programming. And that hasn't changed. I'm very happy to announce that no tax dollars will be going into this program. We will be taking the interest earned off of funds that we received from the American Rescue Act back in 2020. We've had those dollars in savings. We've been able to make wise decisions with those dollars. And based on the interest that we've earned from those funds, we will be pulling up to $250,000 is what we're asking for council to grant, so that we can put it into this pot and be able to help curb youth violence. Again, I remind you that this is a public safety challenge, and we have to think differently about how we are proactive to making sure that we are creating positive change for our community. Tier 2 which is one of my favorite ones that will go on for quite some time, is I am very proud to announce that Louis King will be returning to the city of Fort Wayne, and in partnership with King's Global Outreach, Louis's role will be the program manager of community engagement in the Fort Wayne Police Department. It is a position that has been open and gone unfilled, and Mr. King will be filling that position on behalf of Fort Wayne Police and the city of Fort Wayne, and the role will be designed to help bridge the gap between the community and between the public. Like I said, one of the things that we heard is that people have a lack of trust. We have wonderful police officers. They're great people. They do a great job for our city, and we have a great level of respect for them. And we also realize that when they put on a uniform, some people will choose not to give information to them or share details about things that they know that could help reduce crime. And so Louis will be working with the Fort Wayne Police Department under the leadership of Chief Scott Caudill, and he will be helping to build community engagement and bridge the gap between the community and the public and the police department so that we can help move the city forward in a positive direction, and also just continue working together on all the strengths that the police are already doing for our community. And last but not least, we will be hosting, through our young adult, led by the Mayor's Youth Engagement Council. And I want to thank Katie, who is the incoming president of the Mayor's Youth Engagement Council, for joining us today. She's a student at Canterbury High School, and they haven't started yet, so don't wonder why she's not at school. They start on the 20th. So I am glad that Katie is here with us, because the Mayor's Youth Engagement Council will be leading a conversation for our youth, ages 14 to 18, on how the impacts of crime, how the impacts of violence, bullying, and all of those things are impacting them, and creating a space and a place that our young people have an opportunity to allow their voices to be heard. Yes, we will have mentors in the room. Yes, we will have people that will be there to make sure that the public is safe. But this will be a program that will be, or a conversation that will be led by our young adults, for our young adults, on behalf of our young adults. And we get to sit and listen and take that information back to the non-for-profit partners that are helping reduce young adult violence, and give them data that they can use to help solve the problems. So I'm very excited today to be able to work in partnership with all of our partners, with the City of Fort Wayne's Police Department, with Mayor's Youth Engagement Council, Mayor's Young Adult Council, and with the City Council, Fort Wayne City Council, to be able to present to you our plan on helping to reduce youth violence in the City of Fort Wayne. Now, I also want to share this with you. This is not just a Southeast program. This is not just a program for African American or minorities. This is a city-wide program, and all members of our city are encouraged to apply if you're working with young people to help reduce violence. We have challenges Southeast. We have challenges in Wells Street Corridor. We have challenges in State Street, on State Street. So this is a program that we are launching for our entire city, so that we can make sure we're doing everything we can to make sure that Fort Wayne is a family-friendly community, a safe community, and a fun community for people to call home. Also, keeping in mind that we're just talking about youth, but violence happens for all ages. Violence happens for all ages. So I will let you know that we are working on another plan that we will introduce later on in the year, which will bring together neighborhood communities, cross sectors of partnerships, to be able to work on a plan that we'll roll out. And that plan is called Safe Neighborhood Connections, based on the work that you've seen our own neighborhood departments do and our Fort Wayne Police Department do. And so with that, I invite Chief to come to the podium with me. We will take group questions, and then we can break off to individual questions. And our guests that are here with us will also be willing to answer questions if you would like to. I'm sorry, I failed to mention that standing behind me as well is Shaquan Walker, who is the Director of Mayor's Initiatives, and he'll be working with the Young Adult Council and with our young youth engagement to be able to make sure that our vision is coming to life for this programming. Any questions that we can answer will be accepted now. I filled out so much detail and there's no questions. None. Lyric, you always have a question. No?
I saved mine for last.
Okay.
I'll go. How, I guess, is this plan going to be different from possibly other plans or other conversations that you all may have had about this topic in the past? Or what's different about this one?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that's different for sure is that we are putting resources to helping those that are doing the work expand their programming, expand their reach to children, and be able to provide funding to expose kids to new opportunities. And so when they apply for the funding, they have to be able to say what they're going to do with the money, how they're going to be able to impact the lives of our young adults, and how many lives it will impact. We've implemented safeguards around the funding. So let's say a person is granted $3,000. They will not get the full $3,000 up front. They will receive the first half based on their plan, and then they will receive the second half based on showing us the benchmarks that they have, benchmarks and goals that they've made to receive the second half of funding. So we're trying to make sure that we're keeping guardrails around the money, at the same time giving small groups who wouldn't normally qualify for our foundation funding to be able to have an opportunity to give funding. And listen, it's our hope that, well, this is not what government does, and we're thinking outside of the box and proactively. It is our hope that our non-for-profit partners will see value into funding smaller groups that don't usually have the audited financials and don't usually have the things that are needed in order to qualify for the grants that they give out. And so the city's going to take the lead of giving micro grants, and we're hoping that our non-for-profit partners will come alongside of us and see the value and benefit in helping out. You're welcome. Anyone else?
When it comes to the Youth Engagement Council, how do you go about recruiting kids to be part of that, especially kids who are affected by violence, who might be disaffected by, that won't help anyway, so what's the point of being on something like that? I don't have time for that. How do you go about getting those voices to the table?
You know, thank you for the question. It's a great question, and I will tell you, I've already been contacted, even before I shared the plan, I've been contacted by Building Kings. They wanted to hold a conversation, much like our young adults are going to do. And I said to them, you know what? Can you wait a week for me? Can you wait a week? Because what we're going to do is partner. The Mayor's Youth Engagement Council is going to work with Building Kings to be able to bring that conversation in. They have trust there, and they trust the mentors of Building Kings. And so we don't have to worry about bringing the students, because they can bring them to us. What our students bring to the conversation is the vision that I've put out. They can bring the information that we're sharing, and they can be a part of the conversation with different exposure. Anyone else?
How do we know that this has worked? Generally, violence tends to die back down. Poor choice of words, sorry. It tends to reduce a little bit as the weather turns colder. I mean, how do we know that this will work? Or when this works?
Like I said, this is a thinking outside of the box initiative. We have small amount of investment, and we are at a critical point where we can't gauge whether or not a program is worth investing in. We have to be willing to try something new and different for our young people. But we also know that we have seen this model similar. While we've tweaked it for the city of Fort Wayne, we've seen success in other communities where they have invested into non-for-profit partners, and they've helped reduce violence in their areas. Chief, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's really evidence-based. So crime, violence intervention programs around the nation in different communities and so forth from the law enforcement perspective. It's kind of a wait and see to see if we see a decline over time with that, and if it's evidence-based, then we can tweak it or make adjustments specific to our community. But we're willing to try any program that we think has validity to it, and would strengthen our partnership. So we'll measure the crime as these programs progress and make adjustments as needed to see what is effective and what's not, based on what we've seen in other communities with other law enforcement agencies.
What other communities have you seen have you taken some inspiration from?
So there's programs around the country. I mean, there's the larger cities, obviously Philadelphia, Chicago, Chicago, Indianapolis has programs. There's similar departments around the country in size and scope that are exploring these. There's universities that they partner with. Johns Hopkins University in our region, University of Chicago is a big proponent of the CBR programs and support those. So a lot of people from the Midwest work with the University of Chicago and developing these programs specific to their communities.
And I can tell you, while it's not just geared toward youth violence, I've studied a lot of programs. I've watched what Mayor Duggins has done in Detroit and how he's invested into the programming and has been able to reduce their crime violence there. I've also read the plans and actually watched what Mayor Scott has done in Baltimore. And while we're absolutely not those communities, what they've done in their communities have made great impacts there, and we're able to take different ideas and tweak them so that they fit the city of Fort Wayne and that we are able to invest into our community. Public safety is one of our #1 priorities. Public safety and keeping the residents and citizens of Fort Wayne safe is one of my #1 goals, and it's our responsibility, and we take that responsibility strong. Policing is reactive to some degree. They come when people call them. When residents call them, they come out. And this is a new approach for us in that we are investing into programs that are helping do the work before a crime happens so that our police officers don't have to come out. We have 509 sworn officers that are out on the street, and they are doing beautiful work. We have a wonderful command team. We have wonderful tools and equipment to help fight crime. This is just one more tool that we're adding into our public safety belt to be able to help reduce youth violence and ultimately to be able to keep Fort Wayne safe. Any other questions?
Just put it in perspective, why now? Certainly, in the 1990s, Fort Wayne had horrible gang and homicide violence. Is this because of recent issues with young people as both perpetrators and homicide victims? Is there something going on? Can you just put it into perspective of why this is needed now?
Excuse me. We have had multiple plans as a city. And when Chief and I talked, that was one of the things that we had talked about. Is there a need for another plan, citywide public safety? We've always had plans, and the plans are only as good as individuals that are willing to adhere to those plans, right? So we've had multiple plans. If you remember when we had a civil unrest downtown, we had plans that were created to bridge the gap there, and the police implemented all of the details, or many of the details in that plan, and so there was no need for the public to keep working on that plan. But what we have found is we didn't have anything that was specific for our young people, and we absolutely didn't have anything that gave resources to individuals working with our young people. And so it's always important to recognize that we want to be leaders in our community with public safety. And as the times shift, then we need to be willing to shift with that. And like I started out by saying, this is a growing concern in many communities. We're not isolated, and so we need to be able to shift with that growing concern to answer how we can keep our public safe, and more than anything, how we can keep our young adults, our young people safe as well. Any other questions? Thank you so much for your questions. We will be around for individual questions. Like I mentioned, Katie is willing to answer questions from a young adults perspective, from the Mayor's Youth Engagement Council. Mr. Walker would be willing to stand in support with Katie, or even if you want to talk to Councilman Bender, he's here as part of the team representing, so we are more than willing to answer any questions. Thank you so much.